I'm Sarah and you're watching As Is Burn Say It, and today I'm going to be talking about the best books that I've read so far this year. I know that I've already done the mid-year freak out, but I thought I want to do something. I want to talk about specifically just my best books that I've read so far this year. And that's the thing, because January felt like so long ago. It was quite hard. I had to go through my entire list and make a list of books that I enjoyed. Books that I'd forgotten that I'd read this year. So it's not in any particular order. I think I've got 6 here. The books that I'm counting are books that I have read to the end of June. It is now July when I'm filming this, so I am counting books that I read at the end of June. In no particular order, it's a top 6 because I couldn't pick. The first book on the list is I'm Glad My Mother Died by Jeanette Mccurdy. Jeanette Mccurdy is a child star who was in iCarly. This is her memoir. It is really brittle and really hard to read. I listened to it on audiobook and it is very, very good. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and it is something that I'd like to reread. Not particularly because she grew up in the Mormon faith and other issues that went with that, and with her mother. It was scary, and just how manipulating her mother was. And I really should listen to her podcast, but I have yet to. So I highly recommend that as a memoir. I usually really like memoirs read by the writer themselves. So far, I think I've only got one non-fiction on this list, but it was very good, and the hype is worth the hype. It is, yeah. If you have a chance to listen to this book, I would. Daughter of the Moon Goddess by Lynn Tan. This is a YA fantasy that is also a Asian retelling, and this is about the daughter of the Moon Goddess, and I really, really enjoyed this and its sequel. However, I'm only putting Daughter of the Moon Goddess into my top 6, and I really, really, really enjoyed it. It was the first time I have read a book that is about a Asian retelling, and it's something different than what I would usually read. This is about the daughter of the Moon Goddess who ends up fleeing her home and ends up in the Celestial Kingdom, and it is about her adventures in the Celestial Kingdom. It's really, really enjoyable. I really enjoyed her adventures, and I really enjoyed the characters, and I never knew what was coming with it. I was always on my toes with it, which I really like about any book. I think, yeah, any book that can do that is brilliant. Third on my list is The Beach Read by Emily Henry, which is about 2 authors who switch genres. This is a wee romance, and it is lovely. I love Emily Henry's work, and this one does not disappoint. This is her first one into adult romance. Really loved it. Still not as good as You and Me on Vacation, but I still really enjoyed Beach Read because it was so much more than just 2 authors switching genres. There was the fact, there was family issues and, you know, enemies to lovers. As always with Emily Henry books, there's loads more depth. Just an ocean. Next on the list is no surprise, it is The Pearl Sister by Lucinda. And this is the 4th book in the 7 Sisters series. This is about adopted sisters whose adopted father dies, and with his death he gives them clues as to where they come from and their genealogy. So each book is about a different sister. This one is about Cece, and it takes us to Australia and Thailand and dealing with the pearl industry, which I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed learning more about Australia and those who immigrated over to Australia. And yeah, because I don't really read many books that are set in Australia, so I really enjoyed it. And I really do enjoy her books. They are fiction, but with flashbacks into history and gives you glimpses of different history. So yes, I've talked about this book multiple times, I feel like, this month than last month. Very enjoyable series. I highly recommend it. The last book in the series came out there in May. And so yes, the series is finished. The author died. I think it was last year the author died. It might have been the year before. And her son has carried on with her permission and with her notes. So yes. The 5th book is Thank You for Listening by Julia Wheldon. Is a narrator. She is an audiobook narrator, and she has written her own book. This one is set in the audiobook world. This is about a narrator who does contemporary fiction, I think, now, and she is pulled back to romance to narrate romance from someone who gave her her start. I think it was give her a start or made her famous, and so she ends up going back to this job for an awful lot of money to help her grandmother, who has got Alzheimer's, and it's to give her better care. And it's really, really enjoyable. I did cry an awful lot during this book, especially scenes with the grandmother, and I really connected to the book and really felt for it. And Julia, because she is the author and she's narrating it herself, I listened to this as an audiobook, and Julia does the voices herself clearly in it. And she definitely, whenever she was writing it, she definitely played to her strengths, because she knew what she could do, what accent she could do the best. And the voices that she heard in her head, she was able to portray them. So it's a wee romance book, and it is fantastic. It's more than a romance book, but there is some sex scenes, which I did skip through quite a bit. Very good. I did laugh out loud quite a bit, especially whenever her audiobook narrator is going to a conference she is asking the question. She is the mediator, I think, and she's listening to basically smut and on an airplane, and she says it's for work, and there's a child beside her, and somehow the earphones end up out of it, and the porn gets like broadcast all over this small flight, which I thought was hilarious. But yeah, it really showed us into the in-depth of audiobook and narrators and how it all works. And it was very, very interesting. Last but not least is another one I finished very recently. I think I did this one in May, and that is Caraval by Stephaine Garber. Caraval is about, I won't say a carnival, but it's not a carnival. It is a magical game that happens once a year, and you're invited to play, and every year is a different prize. This year it is a wish. You get a wish. And Scarlett and Tella live on this little island, I think. And Scarlett has been messaging Legend, who is in charge of Caraval, this mystical creature, sending letters to him for years, asking if he will come to them, because she wants to play the game. And so yes, so it is about Scarlett and Tella as they go to join in Caraval, and everything is never as it seems. And I know some people complained that it was very middle grade, but I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the fact that there was no sex, it was just a nice YA fantasy. I say YA, but I mean, there was no sex, there was no anything. Oh, here's the book here. I forgot I brought the book down. So it's Caraval. So I've read the second one. I still need to read the third one. The only reason I pulled out Caraval was because I know I started reading Caraval, and people said that you didn't need to read Caraval to read Once Upon a Broken Heart. But I decided, no, I wanted to read Caraval before I read Once Upon a Broken Heart. And I understand now that they're two separate things. But yeah, I did really enjoy this. And I lent it to my aunt, and I like that it's nice that I can recommend it to people and not have to worry about, oh goodness, there's sex in that, there's swearing in that. I feel quite comfortable recommending this book to people. And I will. So yeah, that is my top 6. But yeah, so that's it. So if you liked this video, please like, and if you want to see more of my content, please subscribe. And yeah, tell me what your favourite book so far this year has been. Do we have a favourite? Comment in the comment section below and let me know. Oh, I really can't pick what my favourite book so far is this year. I feel bad because like only 2 of the books that are on this list were like at the start of the year. The others are all quite recent. Like Daughter of the Moon Goddess was April. Beach Read and Pearl Sister were June. And Caraval, I think, was June too. But yeah, so that is my favourite book so far this year. So yeah, thank you. Bye. Enjoy your evening.